I've written over 300 YouTube scripts that have generated hundreds of thousands of views, but more importantly, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And today I'm gonna give you the exact script template that you can use in any video to get the same results. Most people think writing YouTube scripts is incredibly time consuming, and they're not even sure if YouTube actually works for getting customers. They believe you need to write everything word for word, spend hours crafting the perfect script, and somehow magically know what will hook viewers and convert them into paying clients. But here's the thing, there's actually a foolproof 3-part template that works for any video and doesn't require 100% word for word scripting. I've used this exact framework to help my clients book sales calls and land customers in less time. So in this video, I'm going to break down the proven 3-part script structure that's driven hundreds of thousands in revenue across the board. By the way, I'm Ryan. I help coaches and agencies build profitable video sales funnels, and after 9+ years in video production and writing 300+ scripts, this is the only template for YouTube you will ever need. So part 1 is the hook formula that locks viewers in. And this is where 95% of the business channels completely destroy their retention before they even get started. They think they should lead with their strongest point and dump all their credentials at the beginning, or worse, they ramble for 30 seconds before even getting to the main point. But here's what you need to know. Use the proof, promise, plan framework, and I'm going to break down each piece because getting this wrong will kill your entire video. First is the proof. You need to establish credibility immediately, but not in the way most people think. Don't list out your entire history. Instead, give one specific result that shows you've solved the exact problem your viewer is facing. For example, instead of saying, I'm a successful coach, say, I've helped 47 coaches hit their first 10K month using this DM script. Or looking at my hook, I added a visual element to my claim. I said I've written 300+ scripts and they've gotten lots of views. So I quickly flashed the scripts and the views to show you that they're real. And this psychologically triggers the viewer to think, okay, so what can they do for me? And that's where the promise comes in. This is where you tell them exactly what they'll get by watching this video. But here's the key. Your promise needs to be specific and immediate. Not watch this video and I'll teach you about marketing, but you'll get the exact 3-part email sequence that booked me 15 sales calls this month. It's just more specific that way. And finally, the plan. Give your viewers a roadmap of exactly what you're going to cover, and think of it this way. Imagine you're going through a cave for the first time and you have 2 options. Option 1 is to stumble through the dark, hoping you don't get lost. Option 2, follow a guide with a flashlight who's been through the cave hundreds of times and knows exactly how to navigate from one side to the other. Your viewers are going through a metaphorical cave for the first time. How much more confident would they feel with you guiding them versus going alone? That's exactly what this framework does, because it positions you as the expert guide who's going through safely to get them to their destination. So after the first part, part 2 is the body structure that keeps viewers watching. Now here's where most business channels overcomplicate things, and I see this mistake constantly. They think they need fancy transitions and perfect word-for-word scripts and also Hollywood level production value. But what I've learned after working with business channels for years is that your customers are sophisticated. They don't need like really flashy, hyper edited videos, loud music, or like super quick cuts. They just need information laid out for them in a clean and easy way to read. And they just want to learn like what is going to solve their problems. This is why I stopped writing word for word scripts for most of my clients. I tried it for a couple months when I first started, but realized that most people, they just aren't like very naturally charismatic on camera. So they're just experts in their field. They're not trained actors. When they read a script word for word, everything sounds robotic and fake unless they add tons of inflection and practice the script for hours. But I discovered something better, and basically instead of fighting against their natural speaking style, I decided to work with it. The best approach for coaches and agencies is to screen share information and treat the video like a presentation or a training session. Because think about it, if you're the expert in what you do, you can easily talk about your topic for like 10 minutes straight without a script, right? You do it on sales calls all the time. So why would we force you to memorize lines when you can just demonstrate your expertise in real time? So here's how this works. The first thing you want to do is create a simple outline with your main points, then screen share examples and case studies or even frameworks that helps you naturally explain what you were talking about. Because this feels more authentic to the viewer because you're not like performing at this point, you're just teaching them. But the secret sauce that took me about 200 or 250 scripts to figure out is that your strongest point shouldn't be the first thing you mention in the body. It should be the second. I learned this from Callaway, and even though this sounds counterintuitive, most people think you should lead with your best stuff because viewers drop off as the video goes on, but that's actually backwards. Psychologically, the best point going second works best because people have been conditioned their entire lives from reading newspaper articles to expect that all the key information is at the top of the video. But on YouTube, we want to do the opposite. We want to give them something good at the beginning, then make it even better as the video progresses. When you give them your second best point first, then follow it up with your absolutely best point, you're training their brains to think that the value is increasing as the video goes on. I learned this from studying music albums too. Basically, basically, if you've ever noticed that the biggest hit single is almost never the first track, it's usually track 3 or 4, because the first track is good, the second is great, then boom, track 3 is the one that's getting millions of streams, which creates a pattern that makes you feel like you want to listen to the rest of the entire album. And it's the same for your videos, which will get your viewers over to the end of the video. But the thing is, your job isn't over yet, because once you've reached critical mass, it's now time to drive your point home with an outro that drives action. So the outro is where most business channels just give up. They've delivered all their value, they're tired, and they throw in some generic like subscribe to the channel and call to action that really like no one cares about. But the outro is actually your biggest opportunity to convert viewers into customers. And this is where you need to get their attention sparked again and present them with a clear path forward. So here's the psychology behind why this works. By this point in the video, you've delivered value and exceeded expectations. They're thinking, okay, this person actually knows what they're talking about, so what's next? This is where you present them with two clear options. And I call this the DIY or DWY close, where basically what you're doing is you're presenting options, where option 1, they can try implementing what you just taught them on their own, and you should genuinely encourage this. Some people have the time, skills, and persistence to figure out what you're talking about for themselves. But for option 2, you can offer that they work with you or buy your product to get the outcome faster and easier. The key is presenting both options honestly. Don't try to scare them away from doing it themselves. Instead, you want to acknowledge that option 1 is totally valid, but then explain why option 2 might make more sense for your ideal viewer. For example, you could absolutely implement this script framework yourself. You've got the template, you understand the psychology, and if you have 10 hours per week to dedicate to filming, scripting, and editing your video, you could definitely make this work. But here's the reality. I've discovered after writing over 300 YouTube scripts, most of you are already working 50, 60 plus hours running a business. You don't have time to become a YouTube expert on top of running teams and fulfilling client work. That's where our Done For You service comes in. And then you come in and explain what exactly you do and how it solves their time problem. But here's something most people miss. You need to handle their obvious objections. They're thinking, yeah, this sounds expensive, or I don't know if I trust someone else with my content. So you want to address this head on and say something like this. I know what you're thinking. Can someone really create content that sounds like me and converts my ideal clients? That's exactly what I thought before I started delegating video production, but here's what I discovered. Then you share a quick story or a case study that proves your point. And lastly, I want to talk about the native embed strategy. Instead of just throwing in a random pitch for your services, you want to naturally weave in your offer into the content itself. And the best way to do this is to identify which point in the outline naturally sets up the problem that your service solves. For example, when I'm explaining why most people shouldn't write word-for-word scripts, that naturally leads into talking about how busy entrepreneurs need content done for them. It doesn't feel like an ad. It feels like a logical conclusion to the point that I was making. And I actually did it in this video too, and you might not have even noticed. When I explained why most coaches don't have time to implement this themselves, that naturally led into explaining how our service works. The key is making sure your offer genuinely solves the pain point you just created with your content, because if it feels forced or disconnected, people will just immediately recognize it and as a sales pitch, and then they're going to tune out. So there you have it, the exact script template I've used for 300 plus YouTube videos. Instead of thinking scripts are complicated or time consuming or even ineffective, you now have a proven 3-part framework. You have the proof, promise, plan, hook that positions you as the expert guide, the body structure that uses your natural expertise with your second best point, and the DIY and DWY outro that converts viewers into customers. This isn't theory. This is the system that helped one channel generate over $300,000 from YouTube and another client land 3 deals in just 28 days. But here's the reality. Knowing the template and actually implementing it consistently every single week are two completely different things. You could take this framework and spend the next 6 months learning video editing, thumbnail design, YouTube SEO, and all the other skills required to make this work. Or you could focus on what you do best, which is serving your clients and growing your business while someone else handles the entire production process for you. So if you're a coach or agency already making $20K per month and you want these scripts written out for you, the video is produced, the funnel's optimized, so you can book 10 to 30 calls monthly, click the link in the description right now to book a free discovery call with me. You'll learn how we handle everything, and you'll get a 24/7 sales funnel that books qualified calls while you focus on what you do best. All you need to do is show up and film for 2 to 3 hours per month, and we will handle everything else. So if you're ready to stop trading time for money and start building a YouTube sales funnel that works around the clock, click the first link in the description of this video and let's build your YouTube sales funnel system together.